song's weird. I don't get it.
That's because it's not for you. Because you have everything. Everything is for you. And this one thing is for him.
Hello and welcome to the Euroblood, episode number 92 for the week of August 17th, 2020. I'm Mike McComb and I'm joined today by Ben Smith. Hey Ben.
Hey Mike.
And Helen Groothuis. How's it going, Helen?
It's going okay. As you know, the world is just ending and we're all just chilling in it.
All right. We are a group of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest, and this week we'll be talking about the American Song Contest.
Welcome back to the show, Helen, from one country that's doing a poor job of managing the coronavirus to another.
Yay! Oh boy. When I tell you that when I read this news, I just kind of lost it. I really mean it.
I had kind of the same reaction. It's just like, this is the thing that broke me. It was been going along for like 5 months or however long it's been.
I just feel like there have been like various news stories where it'll be like, Bears are now doing a thing. And it's like, not now, Bears. Just like, not now, American Song Contest. Not now.
So yeah, in case you haven't heard, Christer Bjorkman and his team had been working on sort of piloting an American Song Contest, and they did a press release a couple weeks back saying, well, actually not really saying all that much.
Yeah, not that much, because like I feel like we talked about this briefly in January, and I said something along the lines of, well, I'll believe it when I see it, and like I still feel like I'm in the same spot, even though there was now like a big fancy press release.
Yeah, there was an article in Variety where they were breaking the news. It's so cute when online outlets say exclusive, because it's like, well, that's going to last for 14 seconds. But anyway, it seemed to be announcing the production team and some of the logistics behind how they're going to do the American Song Contest, but it didn't mention any important things like a network, a firm date, how they're going to do this in 2021, which is their target date right now. Like there's
holiday 2021.
So
But we got a sizzle reel.
Which was mostly just clips from
new.
the 2016 contest.
You can make a sizzle reel for a show just like sitting in your house in iMovie if you try hard enough and believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's just like your basic video editing assignment whenever you take like a Final Cut or Avid editing class. Just like throw a trailer together.
They also threw in Justin Timberlake and Madonna because reasons.
Look at the caliber of star that has been there. Do not watch their performances.
Especially not the last one.
I mean, the Justin Timberlake one was fine, I guess. Although it did unleash that troll song. So yeah, this isn't the first time. I guess the big name that was announced as part of the production team is Ben Silverman, who's going to be executive producing this. And yeah, he has a pretty long reach into modern television from like the mid-aughts to 3 or 4 years ago. He's kind of taken a step back.
Yeah, he's taken a step back, but like he was co-chairman of NBC and Universal in like 2007 to 2009.
Yeah, he was involved with a lot of like international packaging of shows. So like he was instrumental in getting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire imported here, The Office,
Ugly Betty.
Yeah, pretty much anything that I'm going to say is just going to be tinged with professional jealousy because it's like, this is the job I want. But
I'm currently looking at the list of shows that he has been a producer on, and yeah, so it's a lot of international packaging or taking existing formats and moving them over here. I mean, he does have a little bit of a background in reality programming because he was an executive producer on The Restaurant. Remember The Restaurant from 2003, Mike?
I do, actually. I hope Rocco's doing okay.
Then, also, Nashville Star. So he has done music competition programming.
Yeah.
But the program that I most closely associate him with is Biggest Loser, which is such a red flag.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are so many concerns about the American Song Contest being a thing. And I think for me, it just comes down to production style. Because I have no idea how this is going to be packaged as a show where anybody's going to care.
Oh, yeah. Because, like, the American mindset is music reality television is a competition, which Eurovision is kind of a competition, but that's not the entire thing. At least not in the same way that America watches music competition programming.
I mean, for starters, we don't have, like, a mandatory Beatles week or, like, everyone trying to cover Whitney Houston and failing. But
yeah.
I haven't watched singing competitions in a while.
American music competition programming is very cover heavy.
Yeah, it's very cover heavy, and it's also very personal narrative driven, which is also not a Eurovision thing. Like, we don't know about like what triumph through adversity a lot of these contestants, these Eurovision contestants go through. And I think part of that is because if they have come through some other reality show process like The Voice or X Factor, like those shows have already done that kind of presentation. So by the time it gets to the Eurovision stage of things, it doesn't matter and we don't care. I may be speaking for myself here because like that is certainly not like I don't really care about the personal narrative part of things.
Well, yeah, and like Eurovision is very song focused, and American music competition programs tend to be very personality driven.
Yeah.
And story focused.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. So I only ever watched one season of American Idol, and I was kind of done with it after that. It was also the last season that Simon Cowell was on, so I was like, well, I guess I'm done with that. And I tried getting on board with the X Factor when it happened, but
the X Factor. And I think that's the other big fear that I have about this competition, because I was obsessed with UK X Factor. Like the first season that I watched was the I think it was series 8, the One Direction series. So
that was series 7.
That was 7. Okay,
That was 7. I'm a huge directioner.
Yeah, I remembered that from the last time you were on the show. It was just
my gosh.
Congratulations on Harry Styles getting the number 1.
Thank you. He's my number 1 forever and ever.
Yeah. So,
Little Mix won in the 8th season.
That's right. Yeah. Totally lost count, but yeah, like it was so much fun. It's like, oh, I cannot wait for this to come over to the US, and they managed to step on their own feet every single chance they could. That is the spawning of my nemesis relationship with Nicole Scherzinger. It was just such a disaster from the get-go. And like, I'm surprised that it had 3 seasons. I bailed after the second season. And it was really due to a lack of the courage of convictions on Fox's part. I don't want to derail this into like my whole grand unifying theory of how X Factor has just kind of ruined music competitions.
But also put that on the Trello board, Mike.
Yeah. The Trello board of my heart. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like I think it's gonna end up being the same sort of thing where they're gonna end up falling back onto so many of the American reality show tropes that what makes Eurovision is going to get lost.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, okay, so what reality shows does this need to look like to try and do like a paradigm shift? Because if there's one thing that gives me hope, it's that American reality television is nowhere near as mean as it used to be, purely because a lot of it was available on Amazon Prime for streaming. I watched a lot of America's Next Top Model earlier in quarantine because it was just there.
Nice.
And also Twitter was a buzz about it, and I was just like, I haven't actually watched this show. Is it truly this insane? And like at the beginning, it's trying to be very, I'm not sure it ever aimed for realistic, but it's trying to be as close as possible to the actual experience of being a working model. Like the first couple seasons, it's there, and like by the end of like what Amazon had available for free, it is just the most ridiculous program. But like the one through line is that Tyra Banks is insane.
Yeah. Allegedly, don't sue us.
And also when you put like 13, 19-year-olds in a house who have never lived on their own for the first time, everybody is just going to be on top of everyone and just screaming at one another.
Yeah.
It's like legitimately just plain mean in a way that reality television is not anymore.
It's like a college dorm, but worse. I can tell you, as a 19-year-old girl, it is worse. Well, I'm 25 now, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're
But no,
putting
just
down.
like everyone is screaming at one
Oh my
another.
gosh, yeah.
Production is encouraging it. Like,
Yeah, this is great stuff.
and again, part of this is just watching all of this in the span of like 2 weeks, but just watching progressive makeover episodes where Tyra Banks is just like actively mentally ruining people.
Yeah.
Who are in who are like in still a very emotionally fragile period of their lives, and just giving them a terrible haircut and seeing how they deal with it.
They did that on X Factor too.
Did they?
In the second season, there's this, I forget what her name was, but there was this girl and she was like a brunette, and they made her go like platinum blonde before the live shows, and it just looked weird.
Oh, right.
I can't remember. Well,
But yeah,
else,
anyway, yeah, like luckily that model of reality TV does not fly anymore. And like the things that like have big online followings are things like Great British Bake Off, where everybody is nice to one another and supports one another.
The Mary Berry seasons, at least.
I'm not sure that you can do a musical competition version of Bake Off. That feels like a tall order. But like on the level of cultural cachet and like where there's still competition, Drag Race.
Yeah, I've been rewatching it. It's interesting. I haven't watched any of the Canada's Drag Race, but from what I hear, Brooklyn Heights is a much nicer host than RuPaul, or at least like she interacts better with the contestants.
RuPaul on like Drag Race proper feels like she has the same problem of Ellen, where you're not allowed to look at her in the eyes directly.
Yeah.
And you will speak only when spoken to, and now it's a whole thing, and that's why neither of them are on Twitter.
Well, it's interesting because, like, in the early seasons of Untucked, it was all about, like, the fights, and it still kind of is, but everyone is so much nicer now, just to each other.
Yeah.
And part of that is because they know that, like, if they're not, the editors will have a field day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it also gets into just the professional network aspect of the show, which I think is one of the reasons why like RuPaul's like All Stars never works for me, just because it's just like these are people who they can fight on the show, but they know that they're going to be working the same bars probably watching that episode air. So it's just like, yeah, we can get into fights, but we still have to work together next
But
Thursday.
we're still coworkers.
So, yeah. So there's just this sort of veneer or barrier to actual reality. I don't know. Like
Again, like what gives me hope from reading the Krister Bjorkman press release is that it sounds like they're going to they're not going to try and just like copy paste the existing Eurovision model onto America. They're going to figure out how to adapt it. And like Krister said in particular, he's looking forward to starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I mean, at least from the press release, and this was one of the things that like was a red flag to me, where they were just talking about it vaguely, where it's like, oh, we may have like 5 or 10 quarterfinals. Like, you should really maybe nail that part down.
You should nail that down.
Yeah.
And it really does sound more like it's the Melfest format instead of the Eurovision format, which is fine. But at the same time, it just gets back to that question of, so what? Because, I mean, with Melfest, it's also, like, the Swedish Song Festival. It's, like, it is a thing with a history, whereas this is a new thing. And, I mean, granted, like, it has to, like, if you're going to do that, it has to start somewhere. But they're trying to make it sound like the American Song Contest is already a thing that exists, and they're just like turning it into a documentary or like more like a higher stakes TV competition. It's like, no, this is not a thing. Like, you are making this up.
I mean, America is a country where like we have football teams that win the Super Bowl and call themselves world champions.
True.
So, or we have a World Series that has like maybe one Canadian team in contention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't feel earned. That's my big feeling. Is it's like, okay, my big complaint is, so having lived, I mean, I've since moved out of the U.S., but like having gone through the struggle of trying to find a way to watch the actual contest in the U.S., can we do that first?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe without a VPN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like a reliable source that does not require a VPN to just watch the contest proper.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a little worried that people's first impression, or people are going to think like, oh, that Will Ferrell movie, that's what this contest is going to be like. a little bit.
Yeah. Well, especially if, like, the movie didn't even get into the scoring system. If they try to bring that over, good luck explaining that. But yeah, I mean, I guess, because one of the issues with the geo-blocking of the contest was, like, some very cryptic answer that Jan Olasan gave about there has to be a hosting network so that they would have ownership of rights or something. I did not fully understand it, and it raises the question for this particular project: where does this air?
You would think that this would be one of the chief things that you're going to announce in your big press release.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the most obvious one is that most of the nations that host their own semifinals would be hosting via their public broadcaster, but that's not quite how public broadcasting works in the U.S.
No, unfortunately. Well, the thing that kind of made me think it was NBC is, oddly enough, the font in the video. Like,
oh, interesting.
I've seen enough like promos and stuff for Got Talent that I'm just kind of like, okay, so this looks a little familiar, and of course, you know, NBC has the rights to the Olympics, so like, of course, maybe they'd want another international thing and maybe corner that market. But at the same time, their cultural record with international nations is not great.
Their Olympics coverage has been criticized a lot recently, and like, admittedly, we are not having an Olympics around this time this year.
No.
To see if they have responded to all of the yelling that Twitter has done about it.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, like,
the thing I keep coming back to is like, and this kind of offends me because like my entire family is pretty much Dutch, is like at I think it was the 2018 opening ceremony, like, you know, the Parade of Nations comes in and we have to say something. We have our expert commentary. And they're like, yes, the Dutch have to they're really good at speed skating because they have to speed skate on the canals. And I was like, how much are you getting paid to say this?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, just like, excuse me. They have not had the best track record. Ben Silverman has had history with them as well. Like, he was there from 2007 to 2009. So that's another reason to look at them. I mean, with the same fonts as something like America's Got Talent, maybe that could also just be a signature of a production company.
That's true.
Looking at where Ben Silverman has been developing things recently, the CW, which no, the CW only aired one episode of Taskmaster when they bought a whole 10-episode season.
Oh,
so
no.
I cannot picture. Like, Eurovision would be canceled like halfway through the first semifinal. Americavision would be canceled.
Yeah, when I first saw the tweet, I was like, are we going to have 25-song-long semifinals? Because that is... I'm not going to stay awake for that, but apparently that's not the case.
Oh, no. Yeah, like, no, just thinking about the America music reality television model, we would absolutely have, like, here's an episode introducing each song and the personal story of the artist who composed it.
Well, we can't go all year.
Yeah, it would go all year.
And then there's also the time zone problem, which is why, like, going back to Rising Star, my beloved Rising Star, like, the issue that they had with that was it was live on the East Coast, and people are voting. Like, the way the show works is you are voting in real time, and decisions are being made in real time. But the show's not airing for another 3 hours on the West Coast, and the way that they solved for that was West Coast would get to vote, and if their votes would have allowed a contestant to advance, they got in on kind of like a wild card system. So, but it's just like,
oh boy,
if you're gonna break it down so that like each, like, you have like, say 10 different regions of like 5 states each, like, what do you do about Alaska and Hawaii? Like, Hawaii's a couple hours behind California, and like, California's already on the West Coast. So it's just like, how do you handle the live voting for that? And is it going to be a case of like Eurovision, where if you're in Illinois, can you vote for the act from Illinois, or are you only able to vote for that? And how much of Eurovision DNA is actually going to transfer over in a sensible way?
Kept, to be grafted onto whatever monster this is. But yeah, and like, to just go back to like PBS for a second, because public broadcasting.
Yeah,
we all have public broadcasting, but the way that public broadcasting works is that it's built up of member stations, and it's not like paying for your TV license for the BBC. It is, I pay for PBS, but that's because I'm a nerd who likes watching documentaries and nature programs.
Yeah, if you don't pay your TV license over here, you get fined. You
get
have
fined.
to.
Whereas like if I don't pay for PBS over here, I still get PBS.
Yeah.
But it's a network of member stations that can fund various things. So you have like at the beginning of each show, you have like who funded it, because like WGBH here in Boston does a lot of funding for things like Masterpiece and An American Experience and all of these other great shows that other member PBS stations can pick up and air.
Mm-hmm. And they don't necessarily pick it up and air it at the same time. Like I know with the first couple of seasons of Bake Off that were brought over, like New York was a couple weeks behind other major cities, and like people were freaking out about spoilers, even though it was like a 2-year-old episode, just because
it's not handled in the same way. The member networks of PBS could come together to say, yes, we're going to host this, but it requires a level of coordination that I think would just be a lot more than somebody like an NBC or an ABC just going, yes, we're going to air this, because ABC is already nationwide, whereas PBS takes planning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's not to say that NBC also doesn't have or they have member stations as well. So yeah, that's the other thing, is like who's going to be picking the acts from each state? How famous can they be? Because like California and New York and like other places with other like humongous like music and production scenes could have like a huge advantage. Yeah. It's like who gets to be Sweden and who gets to be San Marino?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the fun topics that I was seeing on Twitter after the announcement was made. It was just like everybody was claiming to be Sweden, and it's like, you're all not Sweden. The press release did say that there was going to be a jury constructed of like music experts to evaluate and choose the representatives from each state. But that seems really kind of dodgy. I mean, I guess it could be sort of like So You Think You Can Dance, but yeah, like it feels like there are a lot of different shows that they could pull ideas from, but it's just going to turn into a very confusing stew.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think it could be kind of a positive is that, especially since we don't have X Factor to kind of fill this bubble anymore, is that we could, well, for one, we have the potential for groups instead of just solo acts. Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, indie music is, you know, with the advent of streaming and whatnot, they can gain big audiences. An example from Michigan that I could think of is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Accidentals, but I think they would be a pretty good fit for this. Like, they have a fan base, but they're not household names, and they're kind of more like indie artists. I went to high school with one of them. But yeah, no, they were mentioned. They went to like South by Southwest and got like a mention in Billboard. But like acts like that, I would like to kind of see take advantage of this. I think it could be good for that.
Yes, things that are like sort of on the cusp of being the next big thing. Because like I feel like when I look at indie music sites like Stereo Gum, like they do a really good job of covering like up and comers like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like and especially with the advent of TikTok and just like various clips just like picking up and becoming a #1 hit. Like things like that where like how do you pull from that level of virality, and how do you actually turn that into Americavision?
Yeah, I gotta wonder what kind of audience they're going for in that respect, because Eurovision has as big of an audience as it does. Again, from like it's been around since almost the advent of television itself, and it's just had that time to grow and gain stature, and grandparents are showing it to their grandchildren.
It's also worth noting that like the first Eurovision didn't have everyone participate. It had a lot of nations talked about it, but only 7 or 8 nations actually did the thing.
Yeah, so
and like the first year they did it, like, well, we thought we were going to have 14, so everybody send 2 songs.
Yeah, I mean, there's the first season of anything there's always things to work out. There's always something that can be improved upon. So I guess I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt in that respect.
My concern is that producers will not give it the benefit of a doubt, and it needs to nail it on the first attempt.
Oh, sorry, Taskmaster.
That one boggles my mind, because what else does the CW have right now? As it turns out, reruns of Supernatural.
Well, there's like 500 episodes of that.
But yeah, because like that was a case where like they didn't have to do anything. They just bought 2 existing seasons.
I wonder what happened within like Because usually, like, shows get booted after an episode if they're, like, absolutely terrible.
The ratings for that first episode of Taskmaster on CW have to have just been, like, me, my immediate friends who are already watching the series on YouTube, and our moms.
I guess anybody in the U.S. who wanted to watch it had probably already seen it.
Maybe. Like, I have been patiently waiting and not looking on... I'm not looking for the seasons I haven't seen yet just because the official YouTube channel has been so good about just, like, every Thursday, here's a new episode.
Oh, bless.
It's great. I have appointment television again.
Yeah.
My appointment television is the Marble League.
Oh, nice.
At this point in pandemic, all of my appointment television are the people who are uploading new episodes of QI and the Taskmaster. It's great. Let's focus group some names for this because like America Vision is kind of a mouthful. I looked up a bunch of what the various national finals are called to see if we can adapt any of those, like we're adapting the format of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First off, Unser Lied for America.
Is there anyone in American that speaks German?
Heidi Klum could host.
That is fair.
Maybe not directly taking the names. Taking the direct translation of Songbook Captain, the television song contest.
That could work. Oh,
It could work.
It's not
it could
wrong.
work, and
Yeah.
it could work. We could stick Will Ferrell on there. Americandom is like my favorite.
Which one is that? I'm trying to remember.
That was Lithuania this year. Pabandom is now.
Ah,
Americandom
yes.
is now.
Although it does sound like you're saying condom is in there. And...
Oh man, Standards and Practices is going to have a field day.
Oh, boy.
I have already been kicked out of the meeting room.
But not for this, surprisingly.
But not for this. Not for this. America Festivalen. Amerifestivalen.
America Festival. Maybe.
Yeah.
Amerifestivalen. Since Melody Grand Prix is very much the Nordic one, but there is also the Dansk Melody Grand Prix, perhaps American Melody Grand Prix. That feels like too many words. And one of them is French, so that's not going to test well in certain areas.
Although it does kind of have America's Best Dance Crew flow to the title, so...
Oh, true.
I mean,
so
if someone
true.
can say America's Next Top Model in a mouthful, then, like, they can handle this.
Oh, it could just end up being like America's Next Top Song or America's... Yeah.
Ooh. On the other hand, America's Next Top Song, if that doesn't immediately go to number one on the charts, you have failed in your mission.
Yes.
Okay, and then just sort of riffing on the X Factor, the Esk Factor.
Boo.
That's an inside joke for us, and no one else is going to like it.
Because we don't totally pronounce ESC-esque. So...
Yeah, we don't. Also, we can retroname that once we figure out like a good thing. Anyways, we should. They're gonna figure it out. Like, it's not just gonna be the American Song Contest. Watch like 6 months from now, and they're like when NBC proudly announces the American Song Contest coming holiday 2021.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, boy.
I don't know if it's going to end up being NBC. Like, it feels like it has to be cable because that's the only thing that's going to be able to navigate the time zone issue and the audience issue, where it's like, oh, yeah, it's either this or 8 hours of, like, Rizzoli and Isles reruns. I don't know.
But not everybody has cable.
Yeah.
Millennials don't have cable. Gen Z doesn't have cable.
Yeah.
I paid for a
cord.
week of Sling to watch the Olympics, and that was it.
Yeah.
But also commercials. Like, how are we going to navigate that? We need our ad time.
Mm-hmm. Unless it becomes like the Nestle Tostito, whatever other
Pepsi
brands
Zero
you can throw in
Sugar Max.
Yeah.
Zero. I don't know.
God, it's gonna be like the Dana Carvey show, where it's just like a different title sponsor for every song, and it's just gonna get progressively worse as the ratings are just dropping throughout the airing of the episodes. I mean, the fact that they want to drop it during the holiday season does make sense to me, because the Sing Off was a holiday show, and I think that worked well enough. The same with the most recent season of Making It, even though they kind of overfixed what was happening with Making It. So yeah, I mean, it's just like that sort of format could work, but again, it just kind of comes down to like how do you get people to care about this in a way that is going to make for compelling television? And I think that's going to be the biggest obstacle for them.
Yeah. I hope that they kind of play up, because at the end of the day, For me, what I love most about Eurovision is that, I mean, it is a competition and the voting does get tense, but it's just fun for the most part. I watch this to just have fun and riff on it with my friends and, you know, root for people. And American reality shows, especially talent shows, aren't super great at not taking themselves too seriously.
Thinking about ANTM again, I'm not here to make friends is sort of the underlying motto of American reality television, and I am absolutely here to make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also so many cable networks that are under the NBC, Comcast, Universal umbrella at this point that, I don't know, it could maybe be like their Olympic coverage where they just have it simulcast over like 15 different networks. And it's all America Vision all the time. So
I didn't even think about this. Is like, wasn't there like the America's Got Talent, like the Champions of the World thing?
Yeah, we had to pay. We had to pay attention to that just in case a Eurovision person got through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what inspiration. That's about the closest thing I can think of to what they might be trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, and then CBS did that one thing that was sort of like America's Got Talent, the global champions, but wasn't.
Yeah, the world's best. And yeah, that's what I'm kind of picturing, the like 50-person jury or however many people are on their like professional jury picking out the songs. It's like, oh, is it just going to be that again? Which even airing after the Super Bowl, people were just kind of about it.
The sentence that really kind of makes me think that they are not on the right track is that they say the American Song Contest is a competition that happens to be televised rather than a contest created to make a television show.
Yeah, that is so disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because what else do I watch Eurovision for except to watch an Australian opera singer swing around on a pole dressed like Glinda the Good Witch?
Yeah.
Like, no. The fact that it's televised is important.
We don't need 50 people in a row standing and singing a really sad song.
With their acoustic guitar. Thank you.
We don't need any more white guys with guitars. I mean, they could just scrap all of this and air the actual contest, but...
Yeah, that's too easy. Yeah.
Way too easy. I mean, all they have to do is buy it.
Yeah.
Although Eurovision, again, is already kind of even taken up that spot.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, like, Netflix has the rights for airing Eurovision whenever it ends up coming back. Like, it had the 2019 contest and was supposed to have the 2020 contest, and it has the movie. But I don't think, like, given how this is supposed to be, like, the audience voting, I don't see how this would work on a streaming platform.
I don't think that like a Netflix would do that, at least for the initial run. They might have it once it's done, but like also Netflix has their algorithm, and like you will like cancel it after 2 seasons or go nope, we've run the algorithm. Algorithm says no, not enough people.
Yeah. Bottom line, get a VPN. Just watch the contests over here.
Yeah.
Come to Europe. We have cookies.
Fun fact: we're not allowed to come to Europe right now.
That is true.
I would love to.
I had a conversation with my husband. I was like, if we go back to the States, are they going to let me back to the UK?
Thinking of the Eurovision movie for a quick second, has everyone seen Dathi Frere's wonderful cover of Ya Ya Ding Dong?
Yes.
He's not mad. He's just disappointed.
Dathi Frere was a wonderful introduction to various coworkers of like, no, this is the sort of thing that pops up at Eurovision because everybody has universally liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like this would have won.
Yeah.
I want every person who's thinking about participating in this contest to think about things and his other stuff and be like, this is what it's about.
That is what makes Eurovision great, and that's why I tune in, are things like that are like left of center for pop, that are like slightly outside that something like this can amplify and show why it's awesome.
I hope we get some, I mean, it's America, it's one country, but I hope we get some songs that are not in English.
And I think there is that possibility, although...
like the rise of Despacito.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the Latin pop explosion 2.0, that could happen, and that'd be great.
Yeah.
Like on the flip side, I don't expect any constructed languages like we get like every so often from Belgium.
We could get a little bit of French. I mean, they still teach French in high schools, as far as I'm aware.
I think one of my big hangups is like having this professional jury that's just going to be kind of picking through these songs, and that it's going to be more about the success metrics in like the business side of things instead of like just what the audience would find entertaining. Like, I mean, like you're not going to get those burner entries like you get at Melfest or any national final where it's just like, oh yeah, this one's like a really goofy performance or somebody's just in way over their head. Like they're not going to have those go through, or it's going to be really cruel if they do that.
We're not going to get as mean as like those early American Idol audition days, but the more I think about this contest, the more a couple of my European friends have actually asked me like, so do you guys actually watch it over here? Are you guys actually excited for it? And like, you know, sure, you should be happy you're getting this, right? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Give us the actual contest.
Let us have our thing.
I like this thing because it provides it's a relief, and it's something different from American television.
It's oddly enough educational as well. Mm-hmm. Like, did I know where Moldova was on a map before I watched this contest? No. Do I now? Absolutely.
Exactly. Now that we have been doing this podcast for a while, I have gone to local podcast things in the area, and I will go, and like I will usually be the only person who does a fun podcast in the room for these things. Well, now none of us are in a room, but when we were, everybody would go around the circle and talk about their very important like sociological thing that they're working on, or their very serious journalism podcast, and I'd be like, "Hello, I am a clown, and I watch Eurovision pop music TV and talk about it." But now, like the more I think about it, like Eurovision has been like a fascinating lens to learn more about the geography of the nations that make up the EBU. It's been a great opportunity to learn about the international relations and the history of broadcasting there. It is a lens for so many great topics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like people would maybe understand, like, I feel like prime example is like the whole debacle that's happened in the contest with Russia and Ukraine and trying to understand that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like it's really kind of telling that like instead of taking this contest and broadcasting it in America and be like, here, this is what happens outside of our country, they're taking it and making it completely insular.
It's just like, how can we make this about us?
Exactly.
Yep.
And like that is my constant concern with America touching Eurovision. Another episode ends with complicated feelings about the state of my home nation.
Yes, and if you are listening and would like to share your complicated feelings or not complicated feelings about this or any other Eurovision topic, you can share audio with us now. We have a plugin on our website at eurowhat.com to record audio that will pretty much work like a voicemail. It'll email us. We'll have the audio. All the information's there on the website. And yeah, we would love to hear your audio clips, your thoughts about the American Song Contest, anything Eurovision related, any questions you may have for us. Yeah, send that our way. For example, this.
Hello, it's Evan here, calling from New York. Thank you for inviting listeners to call in. What are my thoughts on the American Song Contest? Well, primarily that the discussion around it sounds very familiar. A couple of months ago, when the trailer to the Eurovision film first dropped, it was met with the chorus of, "Oh no, Americans will ruin Eurovision. They just won't get it. This is really disrespectful," etc. And yet, ever since the movie's release, all anyone can say about it is, "Play Ya Ya Ding Dong." And still, here we are again with the next Eurovision project involving some Americans announced, and the catastrophizing is back. So mainly, I would just encourage people to take a deep breath. The American Song Contest might not look exactly like Eurovision, but it's coming from a good place, wanting to unite people through music. And it's being organized by actual Eurovision producers who will be respectful to the spirit of the contest on which it's based. So if we give it a chance, if we allow them to try and bring the contest that we love to an entirely new audience, and if we keep an open mind, we may find that it's more fun than we anticipated.
Helen, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Yeah, do you have any projects you'd like to plug?
Well, I've just restarted my YouTube channel again. I make videos and reviews about films directed by women, aptly called Women in Film Reviews. I just posted a in-depth review of Birds of Prey. That's at youtube.com/filmgeek520. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Helen Groothuis. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at HelenMarie95, talking about everything and nothing and none of my favorite things happening due to COVID.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Euro What. Thank you for listening. The Euro What podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me.
You can find us on our website at eurowhat.com and on Twitter and Instagram at Eurowhat. You can subscribe to the Euro What on the podcast app of your choice, and when you subscribe, leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing and help other Eurovision fans find us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to try to make sense of what's new in Eurovision.